Dobrý den a vítáme vás. Hi, and welcome to the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library, Randy. My name is Jan Stouffer, and I'm sorry you can't be with us today, but we hope this virtual tour will work for you. We opened our new facility in July of 2012. It was a little warmer then. Let's go ahead and take a look inside. One of the first things that visitors notice in the Rosette Grand Hall is the giant chandelier that hangs here. This crystal chandelier was made in the Preciosa Company in the Czech Republic, and it was one of the few things that wasn't too terribly damaged or particularly dirty as a result of the flood of '08.
Welcome, Randy. We're so glad to have you come and see us, and we've heard good things about you from Anita. And the first thing we're going to do is give you a sticker instead of a ticket, and that will be give you free run of the place. And we're also going to give you a map that you can help find your way with. And I can show you on the map here that we are in Grand Hall. We are in the original building that was built in '95. And you are here at the information desk on the map. And behind me is our museum store, which you can sort of maybe see. And behind you is our theater, where you can watch a couple of short films, one that shows you how we picked up this whole building and put it on top of a parking garage in one piece. It took us 3.5 months, but you can watch it in 10 minutes in the theater.
The Hemphill Theater provides an excellent space for visitors to learn about how we moved our building, how we put together a permanent exhibition, and from time to time for the museum staff to show other informative short films. We also do a lot of programming in here, whether it's a lecture or a feature film. This is a great space. We have 3 galleries at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library. 2 of them offer us a means to provide traveling or original exhibitions. This is what we use the Smith and Petrick galleries for. And the Jeruska Gallery houses our permanent Faces of Freedom exhibition. Through our partnership with the National Museum in Prague, we've been able to bring special exhibitions here. The latest one is called Celebration, Rituals, and Revelry of Life. So what we did with this exhibition is followed a year in the life of what happens in the Czech Republic, anywhere from Mardi Gras, as you see here, we've got the chimney sweep and the Turk. By the way, this one's married and this one's not. He's wearing black, he's wearing red. That's how I know they're married or not. We also talk about Easter. This is one of my favorite traditions, the Pomlaska. On Easter Monday, the boys will tap a girl with a willow whip to infuse her with life from the young tree branches. This way she stays strong and healthy for the whole growing season. I bet you could use that about now. I know I could when I was in your shoes. In a couple of weeks, we're going to throw Morena off the bridge. This is Old Mother Winter. I don't know about you, we're kind of sick of winter here in Iowa, so we're going to throw her off the river, off the bridge, and say goodbye to winter. Now, of course, in the Czech Republic, they believe that the bells fly to Rome, so you need to make noise while they're gone, and these rattles help do that. There are other celebrations, not just ones that are celebrated by the country, but ones that are celebrated by families too. And that would include things like weddings, birthdays, name days, christenings. So imagine wearing something like this on your wedding day. And of course you can't have a family celebration without breaking out the good china, or in this case, the pottery. So these are special bowls, milk pots, mugs, and other items that would be used on a table. Only the finest for those special occasions. The kroja that you see behind me aren't worn every day. This is just for special events, festivals, and things like that. And you'll see these here in Cedar Rapids too, during Hobie Days, St. Nicholas Day. Anytime the Czechs come out, they like to dress in their finery. We're going to go back to some of the rituals of the people, and this is one of my favorites, even if it does freak some of the people out. This is called the Burning of the Witches. On April 30th, they build this huge bonfire. At the same time, they're also constructing their maypole. Now, they don't want rival villages to come over and cut down their maypole, so they have a great big party. And they burn the witches, which are known as these large tree branches. I don't know. Maybe it's just an excuse to stay up all night, have a party with your friends, but it sure sounds like a good time to me. After a successful growing season comes the harvest. These are some of the tools and implements that were used during the harvest. And after everything has been taken out of the fields, the prettiest girl offers a wreath to the farmer, who puts this wreath of seeds in his barn and uses them to sow the fields in the spring. I don't know if your family celebrates name days or not, but St. Nicholas Day is on December 30th. This is the day that a saint dies, and so we celebrate his life on that day. And St. Nicholas is said to descend from heaven on a golden rope with an angel, and he's met on earth by the devil. Now this is just one of his little minions. This isn't actually Lucifer. And they go door to door asking children if they've been good or bad, and if they've been naughty, the devil hands them a potato or a lump of coal and reminds them that they have a few more weeks before Christmas to get their act together. And the angel will give them a piece of candy or an apple if they've been good. These are some traditional toys. And let me show you Lucy. This caused quite a stir when we costumed one of our docents in Lucy. Lucy's Saint's Day is December 13th, and she is the patron saint of spinning. It is said that she comes with a goose wing and sweeps out last year's mess in order to prepare for the holiday season. Oh, and by the way, even though she's the patron of spinning, there's no spinning on St. Lucy's Day. Pechna. Pechna wears this wonderful, wonderful mask, and her job is to warn children that they need to fast on Christmas Eve, or else they won't see the golden pig. Maybe that's my problem. I always get too hungry too soon. I've never seen the golden pig. That's about it. You'll have to come to see more. We'll be open here until the end of the year with this exhibition. Faces of Freedom, the Czech and Slovak journey, was 3 years in the making. I can't tell you how happy I was to open this last summer. Let's go ahead and have a look. One of the things we really wanted to do with this exhibition is have a wow factor. And that's actually what I hear people say when they come around the corner. In this room, we're introducing our visitors to a number of different personalities, which are composites of people we've met. 20th century immigrants, 19th century immigrants, people who stayed behind. All of them are looking for happiness and freedom in their own world. Many of our visitors who come to the museum are products of the Cold War and don't know a lot about East Central European history or what happened during those communist years. So we provide a map that orients them and gets them familiar with where they are in the world, and provide a timeline so that they understand why so many changes have happened in that part of the world over such a short period of time. Of course, you don't have to be Czech or Slovak to come visit us here. So this map provides an interesting way for us to learn about how other immigrants came to the United States. But for now, let's pretend that you're Czechoslovak. We can track where Czechoslovak communities were in the 1880s, 1890s, 1900s, 1920s, 1930s and up using census records. We can also compare this to how migrant workers from Mexico have come to our country from 1880 to 1900 to 1940 to today. And if you happen to be from Ireland, we've got you covered too. It's here that visitors can make a choice. Are they going to stay and find freedom and happiness where they are? Or are they going to leave? We don't tell you which way to go. But since you're on a tour with me, and I'm a history nut, we're going to go this way first. When we were putting this exhibition together, we learned that many people were confused by 20th century Czechoslovakian history. They didn't know, hadn't been taught. At that time, it was thought that the less we knew about communist countries, the easier it would be for us to fight against them, should we ever come to that nuclear war that was so threatened in our growing up. And so we didn't learn about people like Thomas Masaryk, who was one of the freedom fighters of the First World War, who went on to become the very first president of an independent Czechoslovak state. This is our bronze of him. Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk married an American and took her maiden name as his middle name. An early feminist. All of their children had both their names as their surname. Masaryk was quite a character, and when I talk to school children about him, I say he's a BSD, or big stinking deal. With the rise of Germany and Hitler, Masaryk's era in the First Republic of Czechoslovakia came to an end. And when the Munich Agreement was signed, that was just about the final nail in the coffin there. Czechoslovakia was divided into two states, the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia and the First Slovak Republic. And here visitors can see how the Western countries thought that they were going to put an end to World War II before it even got started. Unfortunately, all it did was provide Hitler with a gateway to get to Poland and for World War II to really begin in earnest. Of course, this didn't go unnoticed by Czechoslovak Americans here in the United States. And by this time, most people have absorbed a little bit of history and they need to take a break. So we provide a place for them to sit, listen to some propaganda radio, and watch propaganda films. Of course, if they want to play a game of dynamos, or if they want to play a game of dominoes, that's okay too. Oh, I don't know who was playing dominoes this time because I've got the game all wrong. In 1945, Czechoslovakia was liberated, mostly by the Russians. And because of what had happened with the Munich Agreement, Czechoslovak citizens were not exactly eager to run back to democracy, and instead thought they would be better cared for by their Slavic brothers. Unfortunately, in 1948, this decision became resulted in a communist government.
Your identification, please.
I wanted to make sure you saw the Tatra. This is known as the favorite car of the secret police.
Come with me.
It has a rear-mounted air-cooled engine,
Stop.
and it's very roomy in the back without having that, because that engine is in the back.
Your identification, please.
The Germans stole that technology during World War II and dumped it into, you guessed it, Volkswagen.
Into the car.
In this exhibition, we tried to explain what life under communism was like. It's very hard for Americans to understand this because we have always known freedom and have never had to fear about anything that we say landing us in jail. So this is a difficult thing for most Americans to understand. What was it like to be watched? What was it like to have the government in your face, telling you what to do, where you could go, dictating what you could and could not buy, where you could and could not travel? Many people wonder why we have a typewriter on exhibition. Well, in Czechoslovakia during this time, people needed special permits to own a typewriter. The typewriter was thought to be more dangerous than any other weapon. We've gathered a number of oral histories from people who immigrated or escaped communism and came to the United States. Most of those are online at our website, and you can listen to them for free. Well, we're going to go through the border here. We're going to cross out of communism and go into the next phase of Czechoslovakia's history, post-communist era. which came about due to the leadership of several brave people, including Václav Havel, who was one of the authors and signatories of Charter 77. Václav Havel went on to become the last president of Czechoslovakia. He saw the country through the Velvet Divorce and became the very first president of the Czech Republic. He's another BSD in my book. Many of the Czech people here who came to Iowa, they came to Iowa because it felt familiar to them. It had 4 seasons, they were pretty much the same planting-wise, and the scenery and the landscape looked very similar to what it did in their country. They also discovered in Iowa that there was a German population that was established, and some of the traditions, like the Turners, was here, so when the Czechs came and brought their Sokol organization, it fit very well. They are very compatible. Sokol is a Czech organization that believes in Sokol is a Czechoslovak organization that believes in a sound mind in a sound body, and they do this through the practice of gymnastics. Cedar Rapids had a Sokol, Chicago has Sokols, Omaha has Sokols. Almost anywhere you have a substantial Czech and Slovak population, you have a Sokol organization. But they came educated. They knew what to do, they knew how to do it, they knew how to run their businesses. So they could come here and set up shop as a tailor. They could work in a pharmacy. They knew how to run butcher shops, candy stores, and other fraternal organizations. When we did our planning for this exhibition, one of the things that kept being mentioned was how our visitors wanted to go into a ship, similar to what their family had come over on. So we built a reproduction of the SS St. Paul. The SS St. Paul was a passenger ship that left Germany and came to the United States, bringing with it thousands of immigrants hoping for a better life. And this is what we think it might have looked like. The Czech and Slovak people have a long tradition when it comes to music and wood carving, so we have a fujara, which is a traditional Slovak instrument, and a wood relief, as well as some wonderful, wonderful examples of beading and leatherwork and the garnets. Along with those instruments comes the dudi. A dudi in Slovak is called a gajdy, some baptismal garments, and other significant pieces. Again, Czechs are known for their glasswork as well as their royal ducks, and then the Slovaks are known for their modra pottery, which is quite beautiful. In planning our exhibition, we knew it was going to be important to have as many costumes as possible on exhibition. And having observed visitors to our facility in the past, we knew that one view was not enough, that they wanted to see the side, the front, and the back to really appreciate all that goes into the making and wearing of a kroj. And that's where the idea of a lazy Susan, the turntable of kroj, came about. And now we're able to offer 14 different kroja folk outfits for visitors to see when they come to the museum. And if you've never heard what a dudi or a fujara sounds like, we can show you. Visitors are encouraged to have a seat, admire the beauty, and take a listen. Not very many people speak Czech or Slovak anymore, so there's not as much of an opportunity for visitors to hear the language. So we created an interactive that allows people to hear certain phrases in Czech as well as in Slovak.
Dobrý den.
Dobrý deň.
Sometimes they don't vary very much. Sometimes they vary quite a bit.
Nashledanou.
Do widzenia.
I've noticed that some of our visitors really enjoy looking at the Americanisms that have made it into the Czech and Slovak languages. So you'll see an American word here, but you'll see how they spell it in Czech and Slovak, and it's pronounced
Džíny.
or.
Jeansy.
Either way, I think an American would know exactly what they were talking about. Celebrations isn't here all of the time. So in our permanent exhibition, we also talk about traditions, just to make sure we let our visitors know that we're aware of Easter and Christmas traditions. We may not get into the name days and we may not get into St. Lucy, but we hit the big ones. This display caused a lot of controversy. Depending on where you are, a kolač is something else to someone else. So our kolače look a lot like this, where they're about this big around. They have a divot in the middle for apricot, cherry, poppy seed, prune filling. But sometimes, like our neighbors to the north, close them. In Texas, they're more savory, where they'll put a sausage in there. Others make a giant kolače about the size of a pizza. Some people call a kolač a cookie, and others, it's a jelly roll. So we had to be a little careful about this to be as inclusive as we could, but we know we're probably missing somebody's idea of what a kolač is. Now when you come here with your kids, they can take part in putting on a puppet show. We have a number of characters and scripts. Puppetry is incredibly important to the Czech and Slovak people. Without puppetry, their language could have very easily been lost. During the Austro-Hungarian times, German was the language to be spoken, and in Slovakia, Hungary was prevalent. So without puppetry, spreading the news of what was happening at the empire, maybe Czech and Slovak would have been lost. So this is more than kids play. And if you really want to get around the country and you don't have a Tatra, take a look at the Java. Java motorbikes have been around for decades, and today they're one of the leading cyclists in motocross racing. We hope all of our visitors to the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library are freedom fighters, and we invite them to take their picture and post it on our Stewards of Freedom wall. Here, visitors have the opportunity to learn about people we've identified as stewards of freedom, like Mahatma Gandhi. And if you agree that he is a freedom fighter, you can add his image to our wall. Maybe there's a quote that inspires you. Nelson Mandela is widely recognized as being a freedom fighter. Let's add his to the board. Of course, the next time you're here, stand in front of our camera and take your picture and add yourself to the board as well. We keep track of how other people are still fighting for freedom all around the world. It hasn't gone away. So we keep current events about what the freedom fighters are doing in the world today on our board, and we ask poignant questions to which a number of our visitors will comment. Many may wonder why Gene Cernan's quote is up here. Eugene Cernan is half Czech, half Slovak, last person on the moon, and he was the one who opened this exhibition. So we preserved his quote. Never forget our greatest gift: family, friends, freedom. Thanks for coming through Faces with me. Would you like to see the library?
Hi Randy, this is Dave Molina. I'm the library director here at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library, and I'm happy to take you on a tour of our library facility. Welcome to the library. What we do here is support the mission of the museum, which is to collect items about Czech and Slovak history and culture. So behind us here we have our book collection. All these are cataloged and available on our online catalog. We help many people with their family history research too. So we have a section devoted just to genealogy. Behind us here we've got a lot of our Czech and Slovak periodicals that are that we receive from various Czech and Slovak American organizations. It's rather impressive to see all these out here. Just kind of gives you a sense of how vibrant and active the Czech and Slovak American community is. Right now we're in our reading room. This is where the research activity takes place. We have a couple of computers here that are connected to our online catalog, and also another one here that is connected to our webpage dealing about genealogy resources. I'd say about 40% of the people that come in here have some sort of question dealing with their family history research. So that's a large part of the work that we do here, is working with people to help get resources or information about their family history. Well, our library has more than books. Here is our flat file, and this stores things that like maps, posters, and so forth. So let's take a look and see what we've got in here. Here we have a collection of Czech and Slovak theater posters. That's actually an older poster for, it looks like an exhibit perhaps. Well, it's Slovak Days on the 5th of July, 1922. So more theater posters. These are all encapsulated in mylar sheets that protect them. Let's see what else we have here. Some maps. Maps are always fun. Should point out that some of these were flood damaged and have since been repaired. The library has undertaken a couple major oral history projects, and at the end of that we decided we want to be able to carry that project on, but in a different way. And what we came up with here is a story recording booth, which is pretty neat really, because it allows somebody to do or conduct an oral history interview by themselves. It's all touch screen, computer driven, and so you just kind of look ahead and the webcam will record your story. So you can talk about your Czech or Slovak heritage, or what your heritage means to you, what it was like for grandma to bake those kolaches, and stories like that. So the staff work area is behind this door here. This is where our offices are, and this is where we process materials that have recently been donated. We are a secure facility, so we take that seriously. And behind this door is our closed stack storage area. So what we have here is a climate controlled, temperature and humidity controlled space that is closed to the public. So you're getting kind of a behind the scenes tour here. So materials on this side are non-book materials, archival materials. So that would be like pictures, letters, diaries, postcards. Other materials might include videotapes of oral history interviews that we've conducted, and organizational records from organizations that have since gone out of business. Those items in the white box are all phonograph records. We have a very extensive set of phonograph records here. These house 78 RPM records. And the larger ones down below are LPs, or 12-inch vinyl records. So we probably have one of the largest museum-held collections of Czech and Slovak popular music here in the United States. This section of the closed stacks area houses our books and periodicals. Looks like a lot of space, but actually it's filling up. We accommodated or we accounted for enough space to hold our current collection, but we also have factored in a growth area for new collections that we'll be bringing in. So let's go down here. I'll show you how this whole works. These are all, it's all mechanical, and so this is how we move the carriages. We usually move 2 or 3 at a time, and that allows us to get into a row. Here we have a section of our periodicals. These are historic ones, ones that are out of print. So it kind of gives you a sense of how, what the extent of materials we have here and how we store them and what formats they come in. So we have a lot of cool things here that offer to our general public. We hope that people will look at our online catalog, look at our website to understand what sort of resources that we have here, kind of explore those. If they have any questions, certainly to give us a call here at the library.
Most visitors can't leave without a trip to the museum store. We offer a wide variety of items from the Czech and Slovak republics and do our very best to offer people a chance to go home with a piece of our mission. We have staff and volunteers always eager to help people and answer their questions. Of course, our most popular item are the mouth-blown handmade ornaments that are imported from the Czech Republic. We get a shipment of them every year, usually in the summer. So the best time to shop is in August or September. But Lindsay and Catherine do a great job of keeping the store well stocked with poignant and timely, sometimes whimsical items. Here are a couple of our helpers in the store, Patty Thacker and Lindsay Earhart Hansen.
Welcome. We're so glad that you're here this afternoon.
This is one half of our store where you can find many Czech and Slovak options. We have egg decorating kits and lots of Easter products because it's that time of year. And people can come in and learn how to egg decorate in the traditional European style. We also have wonderful Alphonse Mucha items ranging from posters, beautiful glass decorative objects for your house. We have postcards and greeting cards, and of course we have wonderful museum souvenirs. You could get a NCSML coffee mug or a t-shirt, and then in the corner over here we have our wonderful kitchen items. We have bakeware from the Czech Republic, and we actually have some very rare and focused cookbooks, some put out right from our guild here at the museum, as well as more modern contemporary recipes. And don't forget our lovely little mascots in our store right over here. We have our marionettes, which represent a classic Czech tradition. And if you can't make it in today, we also have a wonderful online store. You can find that at our general website and click on store, where you can find any of these products, and you can get those right at your doorstep.
Tours of the Sleger Immigrant Home are guided and are offered every half hour or every hour, depending on whether or not we have a docent to do it. Let's go outside and take a look. Our immigrant home was originally located directly across the river from where it sits right now. It was oriented on the property as you see it. So the back of the house would have led straight out to a backyard that led directly to the Cedar River. And First Street would have run along in front. Another house was probably standing right about where we are. These were on long and narrow lots, so the only way that the house could have been expanded on was by going back. Watch your step. Well, our immigrant home was built around 1885. We can't be for certain because Cedar Rapids opted to throw out all of their building permit records that predated 1920, so we really don't know how old our building is. We do know that the parlor, which we'll go into in a minute, stayed the same size and has never been modified, but the kitchen has been. Where I'm standing is where the original exterior wall for this room was. The first immigrant family that lived here, the Sleger family, Joseph Sr. Sleger was a carpenter, and we think he's the one who pushed this wall out this way, and then added about 4 feet to the rear, including a pantry and root cellar, as well as, behind that door, providing a place for the kids to go upstairs to sleep at night. That would have been a cold, unfinished half-story basement or attic. Mom and Dad would have turned the parlor into a bedroom at night. Our house never had running water. It wasn't electrified until 1981. And members of this Slager family lived here until 1984. Here's a picture of that family that first came here. These are the Slagers. Joseph Sr., Anna, Helena, and Joseph Jr. were all born in Bohemia. Frank was born in Lynn County. It's through Frank's line of the family that we learn the history of the house. And the Slagers lived here for over 90 years, and there were 5 generations of them that lived in this house. To the best of our knowledge, no other family owned this property after this house was built. After the flood, we did do some paint analysis, so we know that the robin egg blue that you see on the walls in the parlor and the buttercream yellow that you see on the walls in the kitchen are the original colors. We also know that the gray with red trim was what was on the exterior of the house. The only thing that came with the house from the Slager family was this portrait. Everything else that you see in here came from estate sales or garage sales or through donations that our volunteers acquired when they acquired the home in 1984. And you remember in Faces, I mentioned not everybody hears Czech or listens to it. Well, not everybody reads it either. Up here on the wall, we have a splash cloth. Splash cloths were commonly put up over sinks or behind stoves to protect the walls from splatter or grease or whatever. And they often have a rhyme or a proverb or a song lyric. This in Czech is a rhyme, and it translates to, "Whomever does not like the way this home is arranged should go home and make theirs better." Hi Randy. This concludes our visit to the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library. You hang in there. I know what it's like. You can pull through. I did. Next time you're in Cedar Rapids, be sure to look me up. I'd love to give you a hug and welcome you myself.